Hey guys, so last week I shared with you a powerful throwback video on my interpretation of spiritual awakening, the connection to the Ascension Symptoms, and how we can start to bridge the gap essentially to learn how to heal ourselves from the inside out. So this week I want to give you the updated perspective on that, and most importantly, kind of fill in the gaps of what I've learned since that video was filmed in 2017. So we're going to talk about Kundalini Awakening, Ascension Symptoms, manifestation, healing, all the things. All right, let's dive in. Hey guys, it's Ashley from theawakenedstate.net. In today's weekly video drop, we're going to talk about Kundalini Awakening, spiritual awakening. We're going to talk about Ascension Symptoms, we're going to talk about manifestation, and we're going to talk about how we can put it all in a blender and put it on warp speed and basically interpret how they are all interconnected. Because this is where we all get it wrong. And I think it's just kind of one of those critical lessons to learn on the spiritual awakening journey is the separation we have created around all of it. Like, manifestation is not separate from Kundalini Awakening. Healing is not separate from manifestation. Manifestation is not separate from Kundalini Awakening and not separate from healing. It is all an interconnected system. And when I began to understand that, it was just so flipping mind-blowing for how it's like we're always on this ever-evolving journey of really understanding ourselves and coming back to the truth of who we are, which is co-creators of the universe. The universe is inside of you, and you hold the power to design your life. When we get to the crux of really understanding Kundalini Awakening, it is all about healing and manifestation. And I think that's been one of the most pivotal points on my journey, is really bridging this gap. You know, this is what the awakened state has always been about. And I feel like it's just been this immense moment for me to kind of hit these points head on and teach them, which is what I'm going to do in the new workshop called Ascension, the live workshop experience. It is going down this Saturday, so please grab your seat. It's heavily low cost, so do not worry about funds. It's like super affordable. And if you want to dive in with us, I'll drop a link down below. So let's get on with what I'm about to share today. So when we think about Kundalini Awakening, I want you to consider that, well, first off, I've gotten this question a lot of times because the thing is I've deviated a lot to manifestation because I've really been kind of not really feeling led to teach on healing work so much as manifestation work. And personally, I think this is admitting the truth of where I'm at on my own journey and what I've been going through. And most importantly, I feel like there's been this pivotal moment for me to understand how they all intersect. And manifestation is a part of healing, is a part of Kundalini Awakening, is a part of how we're co-creating in our lives. They're all an interconnected system going on simultaneously through that giving and receiving dynamic. And so this question I always get, and I feel like it's just almost been like showing me where I'm at on my own journey, is I constantly get this question of, well, why do you teach spiritual awakening? Or why do you teach spiritual awakening when you keep talking about manifestation? Why do you teach manifestation when you keep talking about both? And here's like the answer to that is they're an interconnected thing. They are literally not separate. So when you think about Kundalini Awakening is literally life force energy. It's manifestation. It's a manifestation current. And so that current is displaying in a form of healing, Kundalini Ascension, or Kundalini Descension, Kundalini Manifestation. So to say that they are one like completely opposite thing is so false, because when you really look at it, everything is interconnected. So everything that we experience on a spiritual awakening path is connected to how we are manifesting through our healing, how we are manifesting through our desires, how we are manifesting through the expansion of self. So to consider that they're like separate is really being of disservice to yourself, because I know we could say that the law of attraction world is way over here and the spiritual community with healing is way over here. And we can say that maybe they're not really an interconnected conversation at all, but that's actually being of highly disservice to your soul and yourself, because when you start to understand that they are an interconnected thing, it becomes so much easier to understand your energy body, how magnetism works, how to understand how you're healing from the inside out, how to understand manifestation from a place of pure magnetism, which is what the law of attraction is already about. And it really just kind of puts like clarity, like awareness and radical awareness on being conscious of the systems that you're operating on. So let's go back a little. So when we think about Kundalini Awakening, I know there's many readers out there that I have that are just either in the beginning of the journey, or you just step foot into this world and you're bombarded with information and channelings and various interpretations of what is ascension, what is spiritual awakening, what is this concept that's like occurring to me. And what I began to discover is, while we have the ascension symptoms coming up for us, what is occurring is our body is trying to communicate how to heal itself. And it's doing this in a systematic way where it's showing us literally the ascension of our consciousness. So, and I need to stop and just write a book about this, because I could literally talk for hours about this topic. The book is coming. The book is coming, okay? Help me manifest the book. Okay, so when you think about the concept of Kundalini Awakening, spiritual awakening, we're talking about the same thing. So there's a rising energy, okay? So this rising energy is literally the rising of consciousness. It's the rising of your vibrational consciousness. It's literally the rising of you stepping into healing. So when we experience Kundalini Awakening, we have all these ascension symptoms come up, and essentially these ascension symptoms are telling us how to heal. So what I see, if you go to any like Kundalini Awakening message board or Facebook group, you see a lot of people just complaining about the symptoms, and they're complaining about how to cope with the symptoms, how to understand the symptoms. They don't know how to heal themselves from the symptoms. They are like frantically searching for the missing pill to end the ascension. They're looking for Jesus. They're looking for all of these things where somebody's going to come and save them. And the radical answer to that is looking at your body is communicating how to heal itself. So those ascension symptoms are really producing themselves for you to come into a place of conscious awareness and physically heal them. So this is where I started to notice how the chakras interconnect with this so beautifully, because they show you drastically how to heal yourself. And it becomes just this emotional body map where you can plug and play. Oh, hey, I need solar plexus work. Oh, hey, my throat chakra is acting up today. Oh, hey, I need to work on my creativity. Now I need to work on that sacral. Okay, money issues. Yup, root chakra. All right. So what I began to notice with this is it was like boom, 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 boom. Oh, this is why I'm having heart palpitations. It connects to my heart chakra. Time to do heart chakra work. Oh, this is why I'm having vertigo. Time to work on my third eye and get grounded back into my body stat. I started to notice there was a system going on underneath all these currents, which was energy patterns. So we have the chakras, which shows us our energetic map, our energetic body. Understanding your map is kind of like you're on a road and you got to figure out where to go. So you use the GPS to figure out where you need to go. The chakras kind of play into that. They are literally your energetic GPS. Now, underneath the energetic GPS is all of these patterns that are going on simultaneously. And you start to look at these patterns and you start to realize, well, that synchronicity keeps showing up. Maybe I should pay attention to that. this numerology keeps coming up. Maybe I should listen to my thoughts and what they're telling me when I keep experiencing this numerology. So I started to connect the dots. And the more I connected the dots, it kind of became more and more obvious. I got my head out of the New Age section and I started to really piece together how the brain works. And I started to really look into my psychological roots and look at, because my background is in psychology. I was like crazy into psychology before I had my spiritual awakening. So it was like, everything happens for a reason, right? So my psychological background of where I was learning about how the mind works deviated into a space of learning how subconscious reprogramming works. And because of this, I began to easily connect the dots between how it connects to Kundalini Awakening. And there's theories out there, and like, do not quote me on this. There's theories out there that Kundalini Awakening is basically a concept of neuroplasticity, which means that it's all about rewiring the mind. So why do we experience Kundalini Awakening? I mean, really, who knows? You know, our path was sent here on this divine purpose to rebuild the earth and ascend consciousness and raise the emotional intelligence of the planet. We could be here all day conducting theories on why Kundalini Awakening happens, but I'm more into how do we understand how to work with it right now? Because we're experiencing that. How do we understand the system we're operating on? And so what I began to notice is there's these patterns that are looping in our nervous system that are ruled by our energetics. And we can connect this back to the chakras. But what I began to found is like the ascension symptoms occur because we're experiencing these patterns. And they're showing us how to heal ourselves. And so over time, what I've learned is how to heal myself by understanding the symptoms and then connecting the roots of them to the chakras and then connecting those to the energetic patterns, which connects to subconscious reprogramming, which connects to neuroplasticity. And to understand neuroplasticity, it's basically recoding and rewiring the mind, which is really like basically creating yourself from the inside out. It's literally reprogramming the mind. Changing yourself from the inside out. Now, what does that sound like? That sounds like manifestation. So I began to connect the dots between understanding that healing and manifesting are literally an interconnected conversation. And because of that, what I started to notice is that I would have these intuitive downloads, these intuitive concepts, and they would all start to flood and come to me. And as a result, I began to notice that the ascension symptoms would connect to how I was feeling in my body, and the mind-body connection would occur. And what I began to notice is that these intuitive hits, these intuitive downloads were literally giving me guidance on how to work through that answer. And so what I began to notice is because of this, the ascension symptoms are essentially like a signal to the mind on how to heal itself. And we miss it and we misinterpret it when we create too much separation between the ego and the soul, and we rely too heavily on the logical limited mind and the conditioned responses we're telling ourselves. And as a result, we're basically disconnecting the mind from the body, and we don't allow ourselves to heal. And because we don't allow ourselves to heal, the manifestation does not change. And because of that experience, we feel that we need to do excessive healing work. We have to hunt down our shadow. We play a game of romanticizing the shadow. We play this game of really like, you know, reading all the books, taking in all the information, making sure we figure this out, figuring out how to cope with the ascension symptoms, how to figure out how to use my intuition correctly, how to do all of these things. And at the end of the day, it becomes this conversation of, do you trust yourself enough to listen to your body, tune into the messages you need to hear, and allow yourself to heal yourself? That's what it comes down to. And what you have to understand, and this is the point I'm really getting at, is it's all an interconnected conversation. The more you create separation in the mind, the more you will suffer and live in a state of misalignment. The more that you create the separation going on in the mind, the more that you are in the psychological time gap. So you're in the psychological time gap that, you know, Eckhart Tolle is so famous for, is you're in the time gap between healing, and manifesting. So you've created the separation. You are in an illusion of perception. Because you're in the illusion of perception, you now have the ascension symptoms to deal with. What I began to understand is I could change the patterns I was operating on by understanding the systems I was operating on. Then I began to understand that I could change those patterns by understanding how to heal myself, which meant that while that sounds really vast and complicated, it's actually so much more simple than you can imagine, because it's about listening to your intuition, being guided and led from within, and trusting your magnetism to guide you. Your magnetism is always there. It's always there, but we don't understand how it operates. So what I began to understand is the more I understood what was coming up and what was coming through and what was being shown to me in the form of visions, in the form of intuitive downloads, in the form of listening to my intuition and doing things a certain way, I began to see that the strategies were revealing themselves, how to heal, how to manifest, and it became this interconnected conversation of I'm being given the guidance through my spiritual self, through my higher self. Now I'm integrating that guidance through my body. Now I'm allowing Kundalini descension to occur, which is creating change on my physical life. And because of that, it started to create what I like to call in mind-body connection through the energetic conversations I was telling myself about myself. So the mirror, everything is a mirror, began to shift. So I know how to understand this on a systematic level and teach it now because I've been able to bridge the gap between what is going on in my spiritual self world, where I'm having these intuitive downloads, I'm getting flooded with information, I'm starting to understand how to process it, and I began to understand how to essentially bridge the gap by understanding how magnetism works. And what I am offering in the workshop that I'm revealing on Saturday is how you can start to literally understand these patterns so you can physically begin to shift the ascension symptoms, so you can heal yourself from the inside out and begin to manifest from a totally different, cleaner energy, where you can start to allow in more of what you want versus more, instead of focusing on what you don't want. And so what I began to notice is there's this beautiful way we can communicate to ourselves through understanding the systems that we're operating on in these patterns. So Kundalini Awakening is essentially about healing yourself and then learning to manifest from that. Like literally learning how to heal, like what is going on, like cleaning up the ascension symptoms. And then it's about learning to manifest from that and live your life purpose and live your soul purpose. And so I began to notice that all of these things started to interconnect together. They're no longer the law of attraction world, the Kundalini Awakening world, and then the healing world. And I started to realize that they're all actually interconnected. And so my question for you today is to really look at, are you actually looking at what are the symptoms and the emotional triggers that are coming up for you as you experience a Kundalini Awakening? Are you listening? Are you listening to the intuitive guidance and the intuitive messages that are coming forth? Or are you in a state of resistance? Are you in a state of pushing it down? Are you in a state of negative energy, where you're not actually willing to look at what it's communicating to you to heal and really understand that you can shift it and change it? So I invite you to join us for the Ascension Live Workshop. It will be going down Saturday, June 11th. I am so excited for what we're about to share. If you would like to join us, I will leave a link down below. This is going to be an amazing workshop to teach you how to actively shift any pattern in your power and learn how to wake up your higher self so you can begin tuning back into the messages and essentially bridge the gap between your spiritual self and your physical reality so you can learn to heal and manifest. And essentially, we're going to be talking a lot about how energetic attraction works so you can literally become magnetic as fuck. Okay, I am so pumped. I'm so ready. If you'd like to join us, I will leave the link below. If you enjoyed this video and enjoyed this conversation, I would love to know your thoughts about spiritual awakening and manifestation. I would also love to know what are the takeaways that you've had when you understand that Kundalini Awakening is essentially about learning to heal yourself from the inside out, and just all the above. Okay, so this is like a 20-minute video. Oh, and one final thing. I am wearing my shirt that says Trust Soul and Chill, which I think is an important message for all of us. Trust soul and chill, because you have the guidance, you have the awareness, your magnetism will guide you. The more you understand your magnetism, the more that you will be led and guided from within. The more that you are tapped into your intuition, the more you will be led and guided from within, and so forth. The journey is to trust yourself. Trust yourself. The journey is to trust yourself. The journey is to understand your magnetism. The journey is to heal yourself from the inside out and know that you can have it all. All right, so the universe is inside of you and you hold the power to design your life. Remember that. Love you.